All right, hello, coffee makers, not coffee takers. He is the master of cyber farms, Alfredzo, BNS Jr., and I, the people's chief, Dr. Joseph J. Miller Jr. We are your hosts for the Cyber Coffee Hour. Alfredzo and I hail from Mount Vernon, New York, and we are excited to share our experiences and stories along with those of our incredible guests. Our mission is to impart knowledge, enhance understanding, and cultivate a sense of community in the expansive world of cyberspace. So for today's show, we will have a coffee chat and this Google I/O special with UX engineer Cassandra Mobley. Now, Cassandra Mobley is originally from Fort Myers, Florida. She is driven by a passion for technology and creating solutions, and discovered app development through a college project that gamified learning for children. This experience sparked a 5-year career in full stack development and UX UI design. She leverages her skills to create beautiful and user friendly interfaces across platforms. She's played a crucial role in developing products for diverse industries like transportation and hospitality and implementing cloud based solutions using the Google Cloud Platform. Her commitment to continuous learning fuels a pursuit of cloud development certifications, including ongoing Go language training and participation in the Google Cloud community. Beyond technical expertise, she's passionate about using technology to create a positive impact. This passion is reflected in her projects, a cloud based application for education, and another focus on disaster resilience. She's also a strong advocate for increasing women in tech and is actively involved as a Women Techmakers ambassador, contributing to organizing events, creating resources, and speaking engagements. Cassandra Mobley, welcome to the Cyber Coffee Hour. So, how's how's it been for you? Maybe past half hour or so.
Awesome.
Nice, nice. You missed the time frame where I said a half hour. We had some. We had a little disaster, but we made it through. We made it through. Alfredo, how you been, sir?
Hey, so far so good, man. I finally got to try my mushroom coffee, like I was telling you in the pre-show. It's pretty good, local blend. I had forgot it upstairs, but I finally brought it back down here for this recording. Outside of that, just training. I'm getting hip to FEMA training on the side of the desk. I never did anything besides the CISA and the other training in prior experience. Now I'm doing FEMA training, which is kind of cool. But outside of that, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, man. I did, yeah, with this rain here, it's been, this is like, reading weather. So it's,
Yeah.
kind of chill back. And so, like, for me, actually, last night I was catching up on that Netflix documentary on Mr. McMahon. It's a wrestling, the WWE documentary. And I'm locked in. I'm on, I don't
Oh,
know,
it's good.
probably, yeah. I'm on like episode 3.
Nice.
I try not to binge shows, but last night I was binging, so it was good. So, all right, let's get into it. So, Cassandra, we attended Google I/O this past summer. So for you, like, how was your 2024 Google I/O experience?
So this was actually my second year attending. Last year was my first. It was a big change from the year prior because they had a lot of the on-site. Just last time they took us to the Bayview campus, and then this time they had
Okay.
everything where those parking lots originally are. So it was really fascinating to see how they set everything up and how all the tents were, all the different. Like if you wanted to do the AI ML track, you wanted to do the cloud track, and you had 2 full days of all this programming. So it was really fascinating to just be able to walk over and then you just have that going on.
No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So with that said, can you describe any like interactive sessions or workshops that you attended, and maybe like and how did those experiences enhance your understanding of the new technologies presented?
So one of the important things, so everyone wants to use the AI ML buzzwords, but I
Hmm.
still will always favor cloud. That's where I wanted my focus to go into. And since I'm not from a traditional tech background, it's been kind of, you're slowly transitioning. So I
Right.
have been, even though I want to go follow my friends to go learn about new implementations of Gemini, I have been
Right.
doing a lot with dialogue flow and then learning more. Kind of, I know as we go through, I'm actually on one of the platforms currently where we're on a launch pad learning a lot about the cloud. So when we go to those kinds of events, they have more of the hands-on classes that we don't get when we're just sitting here on a call and going through each different pathway.
Right.
Oh, so you did that at I/O, right? You did those pathways at the I/O event?
Yeah, so they have the
Very cool.
pathways at I/O, but currently we do a lot online too. So it's been interesting because, sitting in a classroom is so different than doing it on your own, in your room or in your
Oh yeah.
office.
Yeah. Different feel for sure. So, based on what you learned at Google I/O, how do you see the future of technology evolving? Particularly in areas like cloud computing and user experience design.
Interesting. Actually, funny thing, right after I/O, a group of us got the ability to go to the NVIDIA headquarters.
Oh,
So
nice.
we got
Yeah,
to
super
learn a
nice.
lot about the CPUs, and then also on top of it, one of my main mentors, he's a phenomenal man, and he is currently working a lot on fiber optic cables for reduced latency for the data centers for cloud computing. So it's fascinating to see all those different, like, there's hardware that goes into it, and then there's the whole software side. So the software side, I feel like the focus is mostly utilizing AI. How do we use an API? And that's all the workshops that I went to. That's one of the main things. It was all about how do we utilize this API in an app to focus on this implementation, or how do we influence this kind of technology. But also a huge thing is, as you guys know very heavily, but the cybersecurity factor.
Mhm.
That's been a huge thing that has become a focus in that sector.
100%.
Yeah.
Now during that exchange, you mentioned you got to spoke to someone at NVIDIA. Did you have a chance to connect with other developers or industry professionals, and what insights or collaborations might have emerged from those conversations?
Actually got to, it was about a group of 5. They were all in the cloud department at NVIDIA. So
Wow.
they all worked on like similar products. And funny thing, I met the main NVIDIA engineer that invited us in, and we was our main point of contact at Google Cloud Next a month before I/O. So it was
Oh wow.
fascinating to talk to her at that event, and then her being like, "Oh, you're coming next month. Just come and we could talk about everything that was announced at Google I/O, and just come see the campus." So that was such a fascinating process.
Was there anything secretly not announced that we discussed?
Not that I know.
Okay. All right. All right. So that's really cool. I mean, I definitely want to attend the next round of IO. So you mentioned in the beginning too. You said that you're pursuing cloud development certifications and training in Golang, and I'm assuming this was at the event as well. How did you see these skills enhancing your ability to create innovative solutions, particularly in your work with?
This is a fascinating, since I've had that non-traditional career. So getting into how I started, I was just very frustrated with. So I'll go into the whole topic of all of this, but I
Mhm.
was the secretary of investment club, and I didn't know anything about investments. I didn't know about anything about anything.
Right.
And our head of our club was like, "Hey, we're going to the YMCA. We're going to teach kids financial literacy." And I looked at this guy because I'm thinking in my head, and I did a lot with Key Club growing up, so I did a lot with children. And
Yeah.
I'm like, a lot of these kids are from lower to middle income homes, and I don't think they're going to learn from a lecture because he's giving us like this whole PowerPoint. I'm like, no kid's going to want to listen to this. So
No.
I ended up buying all these CPUs and everything from Shenzhen, China, and I went to a 3D printing class on Mondays, and I created this 3D printed piece, and I created this board game that did a stock ticker. And I'm about 2 months into developing this product, and all of a sudden, I walk into his office, I showed him, I'm like, this looks like a good idea, and he looks at me and he goes, you're gonna have to teach every single kid how to play this game. Look at app development. And I said, I don't know how to develop apps. And he goes, well, learn. So
Wow.
that is where this process came from. It was really to fit this need of needing this product that I felt like kids needed.
Right.
And it's like that age-old saying, a fish can't climb a tree, or, you just can't say anything from anyone else's abilities because everyone has different ways they learn. So went ahead, I ended up doing that and not want to go for funding. I did not want to go through any of the outside process. I was like, if I'm ever going to develop this thing, it's going to be me and bootstrap, and it's just going to happen. So I started learning the whole process, and then I started taking a UX UI design course to learn how to design the game.
Okay.
Was that with Google or separate of Google's
That was
platform?
separate. That was with
Okay.
UCF. And
Okay.
so I ended up doing that, and I did a lot of stuff on Code Academy. That's how I originally got my process with the coding. So then I went ahead, I did that class, and then I was sitting there and I got this random email from Google that was like, oh, there's a cloud event going on. And I was like, huh, interesting. You're giving away free cloud credits, and on top of it, you have this event going on. I want to just see what it's about. And that was 2021, and here I am today.
That's awesome. That's interesting. So, so with that, so your journey into app development began with a college project focused on gamified learning for children. So how does this experience shape your approach to creating, user friendly interfaces across different platforms?
See things from a different view, because I feel like sometimes when you're just the designer, you don't see what the developer sees. You want this like beautiful, crazy, wild.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I wanted like gears spinning and just random stuff. But
Yeah.
you have to think about every aspect and you look at things in a different perspective. So you're like, okay, that might not work, or that might take X amount of time longer, or be above the budget that you set out. So I feel like every single sector of having those experiences has been able to cross I deal with every situation.
Nice. And the gamification helped in your design of those interfaces? Like what specifically about gamifying the experience helped with your UX design?
So I feel like gamifying experiences in certain situations, because you can't gamify everything. But in certain situations, it makes people more accountable.
Nice.
Because
100%.
it's just like social media. Social media become a big thing because you're used to that, like easy peasy, you're getting self-gratification. So having that gamification, it's like having a mom pat on your back and say, hey, you're doing good. Everyone likes to joke, the beautiful language learning bird app.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Oh, Duolingo.
Yeah, everybody loves a gold star or something silly, like it does
Mhm.
hold you accountable. I mean, I wish more companies took that to recommendation too. Like the pat on the back as I'm doing something is way more enjoyable.
It makes it more engaging. It makes, trying to consume the material, whatever it is that you're working on, it just makes it easier or more palatable, as opposed to the mundane, like, oh man, listen to this lecture for like 30 minutes or whatever, whatever it is. But if you have a way that makes it more engaging, more fun, where it doesn't feel like you're learning something, it feels like a game, and it just, I think it just unlocks a different part of your brain. Like, okay, I'm not doing specifically training. This feels like an actual game, but I'm learning stuff as I'm doing it. Or, I want to make sure I'm learning more so I can get higher points than my friend or whoever,
Yeah.
whoever else is doing
That
it.
part.
Yeah. Because that brings out that competitive side. You're
Right. Right.
like, look, man, I'm about to learn this so I can get more points than you, or whatever it is.
Or the
right?
next time you see each other, you're both speaking the same language, which
Oh,
is
I mean, you're,
you
you're
know?
talking trash to each other. Like, look,
Right,
it's,
right.
no, but I think
We all
that's
remember Madden days, right?
yeah. No, even with like, um, even you talking about like as far as like industry standpoint, you have to do like the annual like cybersecurity training, for example.
Yeah.
You I mean, I've taken so much, and I'm sure Fred, you could attest to this as well. We've seen so many different iterations of the annual cyber training, but then where it's just like the mundane, the boring, all right, let us do it so you can check the box, so I'm good for the year. But then, at least what I've seen, like lately, they have been making it a little bit more gamified, where it does feel like it's not so much of just like the slides and select the right answer and go on. It is getting into that gamification where it is trying to make it, you know, like I say, you're getting points. You have that bit of accountability, and it tries not to feel so much like training, but at least have some sort of fun with. There's improvement in that regard. So, Cassandra, so as a women tech makers ambassador, what strategies have you found most effective in promoting diversity and increasing women's representation in the tech industry?
So I actually always first go towards the first time that I had realized the impact that I was making. I wasn't doing women in tech outreach, I was just doing STEM, like base STEM. And I was teaching a little thermodynamics class. And it was at a Montessori school. And I had these three girls that were looking at me the entire time. I was the only girl on the team. In most of my teams, I've always been the only girl. And this girl's just looking at me the entire time where I'm teaching them like little fun things about thermodynamics and we're doing the bottle cap and everything like that. And she looked at me and she said, I've never seen anyone like you in STEM. And that almost made me cry because it's just like, I luckily had a very strong mom and that affected my life a lot. But I feel like some people, they don't see themselves in certain roles because they don't see that same pathway for them. And
Right.
even growing up, I've gotten a lot, especially, worked in the hospitality industry throughout high school and college, and I learned how to talk a lot more because I used to hide behind my mom. And after a while, a lot of people were like, you're a hospitality major. And I was like, absolutely not, but thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that's just all those like biases. You want to think, you can't talk or you can't do certain things. And once you start really kind of cultivating your community, and that's one thing I've noticed here in Orlando, is I have a friend, Priya, she's also a Women Techmakers ambassador, and she came up to me after Google I/O. We did Google I/O and Google Cloud Next together, and we were out hiking right after Google Cloud Next, and she had said something slightly, but then she said the full thing when we got to California, and she said, you bring people together. She goes, I didn't feel like I belong, and I was really nervous about coming to both of these events, but when you got an invitation somewhere, you brought everyone with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of those things, like, even if we're not having like a full panel discussion or we're not having a full conference, just having that community, bringing people like, hey, if you want to come get coffee with a group of 5 of us, like, adulthood is hard, and also making
Yeah.
friends is an adult.
It definitely is. 100% too. So I have a question because so for our listeners, can you unpack the Women Tech Makers Ambassador Program? Can you just go into a little bit what they do and where they exist in the industry?
Yeah, so the Women Techmakers program is a program at Google, and we actually focus on like mentoring other women, community building, and really advocacy for increasing women in tech. We sometimes, over the past couple of years, we have kind of correlated with the other developer groups. So we do bigger events now, but usually we'll just do like luncheons and panels and just cultivating those smaller communities. And luckily, a lot of us across the US have found other ones in our city. So we have a group of 4 of us together that do things in Orlando. And then I know Modesto, California, they have like 11 people. I mean,
No,
it's been fascinating to see how all the girls come together and just really communicate with each other and really lean on each other. And when I've even spoken at conferences, it's fascinating to see like other women in the community come up to us and ask what we do and if they could be a part of things and really trying to be, a community and
Right.
lean on each other when things happen. And it's not an easy world right now. And I feel like a lot of people are going through a lot of things. So we've had some amazing things come from our own group, and people getting new jobs and people getting laid
That's
off.
awesome.
But you go through everything together at that point, and it's amazing because I remember one girl got laid off, and we were able to send her resume to like 10 people to try to get her a job.
100%.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. So let's do. Can you do us a favor? Let's include your Techmakers badge and profile in our show notes. If you have a badge or any artifact you can give us, we'll include it in your show notes as well.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And I think it's important you have that circle of support, of course, everyone that's, going through that same, working towards that same goal and, having that, like I said, just leaning on one another. I think that's important because that also gives you that confidence, especially when you're going through those hard times to know you have someone that's there with you and helping you through it. So I think that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, so we have Cassandra Mobley here on the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Live Podcast Network. As we transition here to the back half, just learn a little bit more about Cassandra and maybe some, some more fun things as well that she likes to do outside of the cyber industry. But Cassandra, like, what are the most maybe significant emergent threats in cybersecurity today, and how should organizations prepare for them?
With cybersecurity, I feel like fascinating. Like the whole process of cybersecurity in today is a lot more tricky than it was ever before because we're
Yeah,
consistently
100%.
exposed. I feel like that's the scary part, and that's something that you guys know a lot more than me. And I've been delving into it, and I feel like from my more outside perspective, I get a lot of the fear factor because that's how a lot of the knowledge comes across when you're really delving in at first about what is going on, especially with AT&T, with the social security issue, all of that.
Right.
And I want to hear more of your guys' perspective on what you guys feel from your industry.
I'll take that first. I mean, from my perspective as a person in this industry, you kind of gotta be like a shepherd because you're right. Now, opposed to 10 to 15 years ago, we're super exposed as professionals, as defenders, let's just say, quote unquote, right? So then, if I feel on edge and I'm not aware of those trends, how can I save somebody from being compromised? Right. So it's almost like a double dip. Like I feel like I have to be just as prepared and resilient to attack and also capable of defending organizations now. Right. Where 10 years ago it was kind of like, I could relax. The organization has my back. Now it feels the other way. It feels like I have the organization's back and the people that work there. Right. Before, 10 years ago, you never really looked around at different departments and say, oh, they need cyber too. Today it's apparent. And to your point, it's apparent outside the organization too. So yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's a little bit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but there's also empathy for why folks need us now, right? Before it didn't feel like we were really that much needed. It was kind of like a specialty. Now today, it's like common sense. I hate to say it that way, but it's common sense why you need defenders and shepherds in this world right now.
People didn't believe.
I mean,
They
yeah,
didn't.
I
They
remember
didn't
the
believe.
first jobs were like, why do we need to do the security test, or why do we need someone that's mindful of the firewall configs? Now we compact it to your point. It's so many companies connected beyond that old school perimeter that regular everyday organizations are victimized. Social security, banks, grocery
Mm-hmm.
stores, car dealerships. It's unbelievable. So now it's I hate to be that guy too. It's kind of like, well, we told you, but then at the same time, I'm in the back of my brain, I was like, well, we got to start protecting people, like literal people now, not just the companies.
Yeah. And I think as adversaries are getting more sophisticated with their attack. The attack service has grown, especially. I mean, we talked about it a bit. The advent of AI and ML, and just more of these technologies that are coming down the pike. Like, yeah, companies are paying attention. They're not looking at cybersecurity where before, as Alfredzo mentioned, was that cybersecurity was kind of like secondary or just not high on the list, especially when it comes to funding. But like now, it's definitely a priority. Like if you don't have cyber or even especially if you're looking at it from maybe like a small business, even have some consulting, have someone looking at taking a look at your organization or your small business or whatever. You're leaving yourself prone to attack, vulnerable to attack. So I mean, we're not. From what I've noticed, from what I've seen, is um, cybersecurity is not being treated as some sort of maybe I'll get it. I don't think I need it. I'm good. Now it's like nah, I need it. I need like the top. I need the top organizations here. Look at my network. Look at my systems. How am I looking? So there's definitely a shift in attitude. And even like I said, even organizations all the way up to like DirecTV, NFL. I mean, it's all over. They're prioritizing cybersecurity and making sure they have top cybersecurity teams to protect their data, their interests. Uh, but yeah, because especially some of these industries, they really cannot afford to have any sort of breaches or any significant breach. So yeah, so cybersecurity has the attitude towards cyber has changed for sure.
My fascination to piggyback on that is with folks like you, Cassandra, asking us questions. That's where my fascination comes in, when folks that are not in this industry starts to ask the questions that we know is threat intelligence, but we don't say it up front. How can I be compromised? How did my social security get leveraged? Which companies were attacked? I love seeing more folks outside the industry ask us that question, right? Because that allows us, one, to see how we're passionate about it, but also it keeps us sharp to say, well, now it's another person that is not aware of the threats, right? How do we educate them? How do we safeguard them? How do we bring them up to speed? So my favorite topic is threat intelligence. I'm actually glad that's a thing now. It wasn't 10 and 15 years ago, and I'm so glad that it's exchanged across multiple platforms too, right? So 10 to 15 years ago, that was like super niche and only certain agencies or whatever did it. Now it's kind of like the word is getting out, and this is how we protect your data. This is how we protect you. And to some extent too, this is how we protect other companies that don't do it. So I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm just kind of bracing myself for what's coming with AI.
We're all scared.
Right.
I find it funny though with the whole aspect of, even though AI is a buzzword now, this has been decades old, where the technology was created, and
hmm
it's just more cost efficient now.
Right. We went from theory, like Dr. Joseph was saying, to applied now. Like we're actually applying those decade old technologies and research papers and stuff like that to where can it be used? Where can the models be used more efficiently? And that's why I'm saying I'm getting prepared, because I feel like as a cyber professional, I'm a step or two behind that. Like, oh man, I didn't know this wasn't happening already. Let me get back into sync.
So, Cassandra, like, what are some key challenges that you face on your journey to success, and how did you overcome them?
Key challenges. I get a lot in my head. I do have to say that's one of the one
Mm-hmm.
things. And then I feel a lot of imposter syndrome, and I feel very out of place in certain events. And even when I'm running things, I will be running around like a chicken with my head cut off, having 5 things going on, 2 phone calls going on.
Yeah.
I will still feel like, oh, this is me. Or to someone about it once, and I was like, I feel like I'm so young, and I feel weird saying certain things like, oh, even though it's like kind of like volunteering, but I'm hosting a conference. Like, that just doesn't sound like something you should be. I feel like another aspect of that is really just coming from that non-traditional background. I feel like if I
Mm-hmm.
would have went the real way and just straight up did a degree in cloud computing and software engineering, I would feel a little bit more comfortable with it. But I do have some friends who are software engineers who still deal with the same emotions that I do.
100%. I don't know. I think I'm same like you too. I think you stay where you are, be comfortable where you are, because that's giving you the strength to do better than most folks that went the traditional route. Because I'd be real, like they talk about soft skills, right? And hopefully this helps you, because it's I'm trying to extend this recommendation to you. Those soft skills make you better than the pros in the industry, right? So if that can give you some motivation, give you some words of encouragement, just keep going the way you are. You know, you got it. And also realize that that's what gives you the advantage over most pros in the industry that have that traditional background. Because it's not, I think it's a little bit overinflated to say you need a degree in cyber, or you need a certificate, or mostly you need life experiences. You need the life experience in this industry to see the ups and downs. And I think that gives everyone the advantage, even non-traditional folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll take the next question too. My bad. Could you tell me what your favorite coffee preference is that helps you get through those days?
Oh, I'm a basic girl. You know that cinnamon dulce latte from from Starbucks?
Oh man,
Where we go? Let's go. Let's go.
that's
Nothing
it.
but foolishness.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of foolishness. Yeah, so you've been listening. I always so I don't add anything to my coffee. So any like cream or sugar or anything like that, I call that foolishness. Just give me the coffee black. I want to taste the pure coffee. But no, that's yeah. So you said
Cinnamon dolce.
cinnamon dolce.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's pretty
It
powerful.
is literally probably about 80% sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good on that, bro. Yeah. I have to pass on that.
So I backtracked into this mushroom coffee adventure. I don't know how I feel about it with Last of Us and everything in the back of my brain, but it's actually pretty good. And I do drink it black because I want to get the mushroom taste, and it's really good.
Cause you're a man of culture.
Yeah. Well, I've been
Yeah,
back. I've been kind of swaying. Like, I do want to get to the latte. What is it? Latte cappuccino level. But you're right. I've been swaying because you can't really taste the coffee. Now, I would say that they got this shaken espresso that I still do at Starbucks because of that. It is a lot of foolishness too. But I do dabble with when it's a brewed coffee. It's black, like the mushroom coffees or newer specialty coffees. I have to taste it, right? Then when I'm on the run and running and gunning, I kind of go back to Starbucks. I can see, because now, it's the time that they put their seasonal drinks out. So cinnamon dolce is one of them. The pumpkin spice lattes are coming back. Oh
pumpkin's
my
gonna be coming.
God. And they do so well promoting it. They do so well now promoting it on everywhere, not just their venue. You'll see them up alongside the road now. But you're right, after Resist and go back to the specialty coffee. So mine right now is one called Good Time. It's a mushroom blend local to me, and I'm using that as a catalyst to find other shops. So hopefully that could extend that to y'all.
I do have to say, I'm slightly judging, but I really want to know who made that apple flavor. Like,
I don't know. You're right.
I don't know who made apple and coffee.
That's a
You
good question.
said apple.
Yeah,
Oh, for Starbucks.
Yeah, who did that?
Yeah,
That's right. I
who
don't
did
Mm,
know. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think it was them though. I think it was a partner or somebody. You
yeah.
think it was
I have no
Starbucks?
idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are two flavors that don't mix.
They see that's a problem sometimes. They try to get a little too cute and they're doing too many flavors, and it's no. This should not be in a coffee. Like you shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have like a sandwich flavor coffee or something crazy like that. Like just ridiculous. Um. So yeah. So if you could have any superpower to help you in cybersecurity, what would it be and why?
I think seeing the future. And I think that's pretty
Mm.
self-explanatory, but being able
To see the breaches before they happen. That'd be awesome.
it's funny because the whole CloudStrike thing, I had actually some of the girls down. We went to my hometown together,
Mm.
and we were in the car when the news popped up, and I looked at them and I said, "I don't think they did QA testing." And there was this whole topic about it because when you see that, you're like, "Oh, are we getting attacked or did someone push the code?" Like, what is going on?
Right. Right. So and last one here. Are there any hobbies, interests, or recreation activities you like to do outside of UX design or cybersecurity?
I always used to say app development was my hobby, but it accidentally turned into my job. So
Oh.
yeah, uh, but I do like to travel a lot. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm trying to get to all 7 continents before 30. It's like my one thing I want to do. So I got 3 more continents to go, and I just
Wow.
like
Wow. Okay.
really experiencing the culture. I like taking cooking classes everywhere.
Are
Interesting sometimes traveling, but
So wait, you take the cooking classes in the continents you visit?
yeah.
Oh, I gotta borrow that. That's
So
awesome.
I have 3 things that I do. It's something fun, something relaxing, and something cultural. So usually the
Nice.
cultural is the
nice.
cooking class, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not a bad thing to do.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So
No,
is that what oh, go ahead, you got it.
no. Good.
Is that what drives you to pick the continent, or is it the other way around? You just go and then you decide to take whatever classes are available.
So I have a group of friends, and I call the main one. She is the planner. She always like knows where to go and what to do, and we just kind of plan a year out and then save up for it, and then go ahead and we leave when we leave, and we have like
Yeah.
a whole plan, usually through an entire country. Even though there are some places that I would go back to, I think I want to go to some more and really see more things before I would go back to them. So it's really nice to be able to travel throughout the entire countries where you're like, okay, we're either taking a bus here, we're taking a flight here.
I think one of the things I pick up from that is we learn a lot about each other's culture through food.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's the
We,
best way to learn somebody's
yeah, we
country.
can. I think we learn, for one, we can learn a lot about our own history, our respective history, but then also those of others from other cultures and demographics and backgrounds. So yeah, I don't think I used to pay attention to it so much before. Like I know, um, I'm blanking his name. His last name is Bourdain. He recently
Anthony
passed away.
Bourdain. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you,
that's the
thank you.
man. Yeah, yeah. Same.
So like seeing shows like that, yeah, I did honestly I did not really used to pay attention so much to it, but now maybe as I've gotten older now, yeah, I do see appreciation. Like you're learning more about like a culture through food, and I think that's a great way to do that too. Of course, you have language and everything else, but food is definitely, well, for one, food is probably one of the most probably the best connector because I mean everyone needs to eat, right?
It's a
So
universal language.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you learn about the different spices and flavors and ingredients that comes from a specific culture, and be able to and that alone sparks conversation because there's always a lot of history behind different dishes and everything that's made. So I think that's pretty awesome. So like Cassandra, when you go out, are you creating like a maybe like a vlog, or are you keeping track as you go to each?
So everyone
Uh,
always thinks it's funny, but I always feel really weird talking in front of cameras, and that's funny saying that right now.
I know because you're on a podcast right now.
Yeah, but we can tell now because it's no going back after this.
So when I was a kid, I used to have a Dell computer and a webcam, and I used to just like be like, "Welcome to my cooking show," and I didn't post them anywhere. And
Yeah.
then I delayed getting a TikTok and everything, and I did not have social media for a long time, so I got back on Instagram, and then I got back on Facebook, and then I delayed getting a TikTok until about, I want to say, a year ago now. And then I
Hmm.
started probably about a couple years ago because one of my friends is a traveler and she likes those little reels. So I just was the back camera person. Like, I was the one creating the videos for the reel. So
Yeah.
I just started posting all these videos from around the world of just like, a pan of where I was at or like a little picture. So usually now I just post like that. I don't really like the whole like face. I don't want you to be like, oh, like for example, when I was going to Egypt, I ended up having to go to Qatar and then I showed up to Egypt late because the thing is that my flight got in late to Heathrow because my flight left. I was actually coming from SFO from a Google event to
Oh wow.
straight
Okay.
to Egypt, so that was a
Yeah.
process. And so Heathrow couldn't get to Cairo because COP27 was happening, and everyone was trying to get to Cairo
The
to get
climate
to
stuff.
Sharm el Sheikh.
Yeah. Yep.
So I ended up having to go to Qatar with 2 random people that I had just met. And we had to go there to get to Egypt. And luckily we were, because in Egypt they recommend you to do the tour group, so we were in the same tour group. So that got really lucky because I could not have done that by myself.
Right.
This is my first time traveling like alone internationally, and I'm like, what is going on? So I ended up in Qatar. It's right before the FIFA World Cup, so like everything's decorated. And then finally, I ended up getting to Cairo. We showed up right as our tour bus, because we showed up a day and a half late. Right as our tour bus was getting to the pyramid, so I had to change on the side of the road. Like I had to like put
Oh my
clothes over my
gosh.
other clothes.
Right.
48 hours of travel. I'm like, I'm ready. And then I got bit by a camel 5 minutes later.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Wow.
It was the most interesting 2 days of my life.
So to your point too, I have vision. So Anthony Bourdain, yep, I remember that's around the same time, and then also Guy Fieri, he does the dives, and I think ditches or whatever. Do you envision yourself doing that, like, or are you just gonna stay behind the camera for right now?
I think I'm gonna stay behind the camera. I feel like I never want to be the face of any. Like I've never wanted to like really be out there. Like I could not do like get ready with me's. I could not.
Right.
I've tried a couple of times with Google events. Oh, get ready with me for Google I/O, and I'm like, absolutely not. I love how people can share their process, but I am just not one of those people. And it's funny because I don't know if you guys were looking up, but I did videos with Google about 2 years ago, and they came out last year. And it was my first time in Techmakers. It was my first time actually in front of the big camera. And they had the big camera stare at me, and I was so awkward. I was like breaking up. I was like, how do I do this? And I knew I practiced everything I was going to say, so I just instantly.
It's a little different when the lights go on and the camera's rolling.
100%. The lights are all hot.
Yeah, it's different for sure. But Cassandra, we definitely thank you for coming through. We had a great, awesome time with you today. But before we go, is there anything you want to share with our listeners before we wrap up?
Just say, since we are talking about mostly like the women attack, and then also my weird journey into this world and everything, I think just stick with it. Stick with whatever you have your mind to. And actually, I'll give you an example. My sister has been in a different industry for 12 plus years, and she just pivoted to tech. I was her mentor throughout the entire process. And just remember, wherever you come from, like, you can pivot, you can learn, you can grow. It's not easy, and you might have to do a lot for free. You might have to volunteer your time. But once you find that community, and once you find really what works for you in the space, I think just you have unlimited growth.
Awesome. Sage advice. Thank you. And thank you, those listening and watching. Join us for another episode of the Cyber Coffee Hour, part of the Alive Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode, explore more engaging content in the Alive Podcast Network app. By supporting this podcast and nearly 100 other Black hosted shows, you can enjoy ad-free listening while contributing to a diverse range of voices in the podcasting space. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more insightful conversations with you in our next episode. So until then, keep brewing those ideas and stay curious about cybersecurity. All right, that's it. It's a wrap. We out of here. Peace.
Take it easy.